For me anyway, everybody's different, but for me, the way I look at it is everybody's contact information is online somehow, right? Like my email address is actually on our website. I get a lot of really funny, crazy emails, but if it's not an email address, it's a Twitter account that you can DM, or if you know, like this is a really valuable trick that I hope you write down, if you know that where you're trying to get an internship is a company like Hearst, you can figure out that all Hearst email addresses follow the same format. So it's first initial, last name @hearst.com. So you can literally directly email the person you're trying to work for. I think that is really effective because it allows you to say something that not enough candidates say to me, which is, I love this brand. I care so much about what you do. I loved X thing you published last week. I read it every day. I would do anything to work here. Can I take 5 minutes of your time to do a quick phone call? That's a way to leave a real impact.
Yeah, I think what you said too about loving the brand and knowing the brand, reading the brand is really key. It's a question I always ask everybody I interview. So I work across all the sites, so I say, which sites do you love and why? And it stumps some people. So yeah, so starting from there and being able to reference specific pieces. If you're, writing to pitch a features editor, acknowledge past features on Esquire.com that you read, and just to also double down on the Twitter thing. Like if you have journalists or brands that you admire, follow them and be familiar with what they're saying.
I also would say these are boring logistics things, but they'll help you. Like for one thing, when I'm hiring people, I tend to read a lot of applications on the train when I'm going back and forth to work. So put your cover letter in the body of the email so that I can read it and I don't have to load an attachment. I would also say in your subject line, it can be helpful if you're applying for cosmopolitan.com summer internship, dash Elisa Benson. Put your name in the subject, because when I get internship application, how your email, and then it's how do I explain what I'm trying to say? They all group together. So that's just a really simple way that all of a sudden your application that you spent a really long time working on might just get literally buried in someone's inbox because it's sorting with 25,000 other emails with the same subject. So I feel making sure your subject, that's just a little teeny way to make sure that your application is really getting looked at. And then the other thing, what you guys were saying about talk about what you love about the brand. I think a mistake sometimes that young people make is that, you guys are just starting out and your resumes aren't as long as crusty old people like me and Eric and Brooke. But
I am the oldest.
Aren't long. So I feel the instinct is to sometimes talk about how experienced you are, but it's always just assume that the person you're applying to is a total narcissist and that they want to hear about their brand. Don't talk about yourself, talk about the brand you're applying to.
I mean,
kind of like dating.
I think Jess touched on this, but my not so secret to getting my internships, which were, just the last 2 years. So I had a lot of people messaging me when I was at 17, oh my God, you have my dream job. How did you do that? And all I did was cold email these people. And like you said, I figured out their email and that was it. And I think if you send your resume to internships at whatever.com, you're just getting dumped into a pool of you're just getting lost. And another thing, this was crazy that happened to me the other day. I was on our Snapchat, and I don't always open the snaps that we're getting because a lot of them are just complete random stuff that I don't want to be seeing. But a girl Snap texted me and was oh my God, please tell me you're hiring. And so I just was oh, Snap text you back. And I was we're always looking for interns. And she was unfortunately, I'm going to be graduating this May. And I was well, you know what, send me your resume anyways. Sometime we might have an opening. And just like that, she made a connection, which I think is absolutely insane, how you can make a connection through Snapchat now, that's the world we live in. And another thing I would say is if you're really passionate about a brand, don't just follow that brand, follow its editors, because we're always Facebook making statuses or tweeting out hey, we're looking for interns, and you might miss our listing on Ed 2010, but you might see my tweet, and then you might be able to get the internship that way.
Two more things I would add. Elisa mentioned cover letters, and I think I mean, you know, when I was coming out of school, it was a totally different environment, but you had to apply to a job with a cover letter, and it said to whom it may concern, and it started with a paragraph about my experience and how I would be a valuable member of the team. But I think the more conversational you can be in these emails, the better off you are. If it feels formulaic, I might gloss over it, not because I'm not interested in you, but because it seems like you're not interested in us. And that the kinds of content that we all publish, while we all have very different voices online, the internet is all about conversationality. It's all about directness. It's all about things that you can relate to and that you want to share. So if you send me a very stiff email, I won't necessarily see that in you, even if it's there. So I would surface sounding like a human and not like a robot. And then the other thing is being associated with organizations like the one you're here with today. Eric and I were both on the board of ASME Next, which is also a good group for young junior editors. Basically, if you're connected with a group like this, you're connected with people who have connections in the building, and if they feel strongly about you, they can email someone and say, you should really talk to this candidate because they're really smart and they care a lot about X brand. So work your people connections too.